me again, and I'm here on the outskirts of Johannesburg where I've borrowed a small film crew to talk about this, the new 2020 Porsche 718 Cayman GT4. It's a lot to take in, but so is the car, as I'll explain. Now, for this to be a proper Porsche GT car, there has to be a lot of compromises to it. Think about it. Any car that's pepped up to be the fastest version always gets a ton of stuff added to it. It's kind of like building a sandwich. Standard Porsches are luxurious, pretty, well made and equipped, and they're not shy of anything that isn't expensive. For Porsche GT cars, the opposite happens because they take what is civilized and normal and everything that you're used to and strip it away. And if you're not a typical GT person or used to the idea of one, then there's a big problem. There is something that I do need to mention here, because if you're after plush and comfortable ride quality, you're not going to find it here in this car because it doesn't like normal roads. It's proper choppy and bumpy. In fact, if you want to get yourself a coffee or a drink, you're going to spill it on your lap. But then why are you worrying about such things if your car says GT on it? There's more to this car too. The wing mirrors are a little too big, and the rear of the car looks very busy. And once you get around to the side, the front looks very gaping. Now, in the past, pre-2015, Porsche never made a baby GT variant. It was always the 911's job. So when the first generation came along, it shocked the world completely, because this car did 0 to 100 the same time as a Ferrari 360. One better, it also lapped the Nürburgring the same time as a Lamborghini Murcielago. This, though, is a completely different animal. This is a fabulous car, an epic car, and that's because it's taken something that was such a huge hit and smashed it right out of the ballpark. And the way they did it is simply brilliant. You see, because a Porsche isn't just called a GT for any reason. For starters, they borrowed all the good bits from the already perfect GT3, such as the brakes, the suspension, joints, springs, and rear diffuser. It also comes in a manual gearbox, fuss-free steering wheel, no door handles, and of course a fully adjustable rear wing. But the best part is its high-revving engine. An engine that you can't see at all. No, really. If you pop the lid, use the wing, which is quite handy for this. It's not there. It's covered in plush carpet and some brushed aluminium. And if you unscrew this, that's where you can put your oil and water. But if you want to impress your friends with how good this car is, you're not going to get the chance. Not that you'll ever need to, because this is one of the most beautiful engines ever made. You get 309 kilowatts and 420 newton meters of torque from what will go down as the best sounding 6-cylinder in history, a Porsche 6-cylinder. And then there's the way this car revs. This is now the same engine as the current 911 992, except now it's 4 liters. And if you work it hard enough, this car will get to 100 kilometers an hour in only 4.4 seconds. And since this car doesn't have a turbocharger, its revs aren't a blur at 5,000 or 6,000 RPM. It keeps going to a dizzying 8,000 RPM. And only when you get close to it do you change gear. This engine is brilliant. It doesn't matter who you are. If you like the prancing horse or the raging bull, you cannot deny that this is one of the most memorable engine notes ever made. And if you got the courage to do it, the GT4 will sing its heart out to a top speed of 304 kilometers an hour. So while it may be the baby of the Porsche range, the 718 certainly doesn't go like one. What this car is a hardcore, no-frills experience in the easiest package that you can find. In fact, if you get in this car, you can be a hero. Anyone can. And that brings me to this car's party piece. With all its seriousness and us living in the sort of PlayStation generation, as I like to call it, the GT4 is a brilliant car because anyone these days can get into a car and flick a whole bunch of switches and make the car the fastest thing in the entire world. But in this, it's different because the GT4 comes in manual, which means that you're in control of the power and speed. And if you don't know what you're doing, well, you're not going to get anything right in this car. It's just going to feel like a very unsatisfying experience. But to get that, it does, however, have three important buttons: auto blip, sport exhaust, and race suspension. And because it's a manual car, you have to drive it to unlock it. That's probably the best way to experience it. You can get in this car and not have any knowledge at all. But the more you explore the car, the more it rewards you with feedback. The steering wheel is so precise. It's like a water boatman. You point it in any direction and it goes wherever you want it to be. Every time you change the gear, you get better with it. You get to learn the car. And when you smash it all the way to 8 grand, the car goes faster. And when you go faster, so does the car. And it's just a rewarding, fulfilling experience. You'll never get tired of this. And you'll never be a worse driver because every time you start this car and carry on, you're just better. Slow down, and that auto blip rewards you with a satisfying shift sound. I mean, you don't get the car in any form of jerkiness. You don't feel like you're a terrible driver. And that's the thing about this car, reward. Everything you do in this car gives back to you. You learn more about yourself. You learn more about the car. You feel like the most amazing driver. And that's what this car is all about. I don't think we give Porsche enough credit for any of their products that they do. I mean, we all say that, okay, maybe that the car looks exactly the same, or they just don't give anything back to you. But ask anyone who's driven this car and they'll tell you the same thing I'm about to tell you. It just does it time and time again, and you'll never be bored in this car. Never. This car then transforms from something brilliant to something sensational. Oh. Porsche have always been a misunderstood brand because there's always been others that have stolen the thunder, the raging bull and the prancing horse. But when you experience a thoroughbred, pure engineered Porsche GT product, you'll understand that because the car is so over-engineered, it's perfect. And no one likes to use that word these days, perfect, because nothing in life is perfect. Nothing was born perfect, because for something to be perfect, there has to be something wrong with it. But there's never been that case in a GT car. Ask anyone who's driven a Porsche GT car. It's always been something that is so beautiful. But there's also never been an attainable GT car, because the GT3 RS, GT2 RS, they've always been super expensive. But where's the people's GT car been? And I'm happy to tell you that it's here in the GT4, because if this is as good as it gets for the baby 718, then I can't imagine what the GT3 RS is like. If you're looking for the best driving experience ever, don't spend it on a hyperhatch or any other performance sedan, because Porsche have made the most perfect and attainable sports car ever. Never have I felt so satisfied, so complete, and so whole as a petrolhead, and for that there's no argument needed. You need one, I need one, and everyone needs a GT4 in their life.